Yo. Um, this is a video that I've wanted to make for a long time now. Basically, it is sort of an introduction to my studio, and it's a bit of an introduction to me. So, I just want to talk a little bit about sort of my more recent journey in architecture, and how I've kind of ended up where I am at the minute. So I am an architect. I qualified formally in March 2022, and then I sort of just quit architecture for a little bit. So I had been studying and working and training to become an architect for 12 years, pretty much non-stop for 12 years. And I loved pretty much all of it until the very last, maybe let's say 18 months of it. So when I actually qualified as an architect, I sort of just quit, and I needed to recharge. I needed to refocus. I needed to motivate myself for to keep going. So I decided it was the perfect time. I had just left the practice that I was working for in London, and I had relocated to Stockholm, Sweden. And it was a great time to do it. I had just wrapped up part three. I had just finished a big project in the office I was working for in London. It was on site. It was all going ahead pretty okay. I have since seen photographs, therefore I have proof that it went okay. But I just didn't want to go right back into practice. So I decided to give it a go at Freelance for a little bit and try and build a little bit of a network here in Sweden. And boy, has that been difficult. When I left London, I moved to Stockholm and I had a client pretty quickly. But between competitions, which I was winning, and clients, which I was getting, things were looking good. And I thought, okay, this might be the way forward. Why don't you just start a traditional architecture practice? So I did that, Studio Cahill Crumley, original. But instead of making a business or a company, I was sort of just making an Instagram page. And what I found after about a month with the Instagram page was how much it looked like a lot of other young architects' Instagram pages. And this isn't my attempt here to try and, brand myself as special, but I do find that there are a lot of very similar moves that a lot of young architects make when they're kind of starting out their practice. I got quite bored of it quite quickly because I wasn't really being true to myself. I didn't want to just work as an architect when I have all this other knowledge now, and I have this whole other portfolio of work that I've been working on in animation and film and concept art and concept design. I still just couldn't let this idea go that I just wanted them to come together. So anyone who knows me knows a couple of things that I absolutely am obsessed with: films, art, video games, pop culture, media in general. I just love chatting about films, talking about them. Before I actually went to architecture school, I went to film school. That lasted about 2 weeks. But any opportunity you give me to talk about film, I will take it. Always wanted to be a film director when I was younger. Still sort of do, but can't actually ever see that happening now. Not after how kind of conditioned I've become in the architecture world. But and I've had this idea then for a long time that I've been really I can't switch it off ever. I'm really obsessed with it. Like, how do we get architecture and how do we get filmmaking and animation and visualization and tech and just sort of get them together? Just make them synergy, bring them together. How do I do that? And I still don't know. It's been years now. I am aware, yes, that architects have often worked in film and on productions. I know what a set designer is. I know what environment designers are. I know that. But I sort of mean more, can an architect sort of take a lot of those visualization principles, techniques, representation skills, and extract them from film and games and television and bring them into architecture. The architect as concept artist and concept designer is not anything, new. Very aware of the works of Sid Mead and a lot of the work of Archie Graham from the 60s. I know that there are a lot of people who are working in this type of niche area right now. Liam Young is a good example. Architects who sort of work in with speculative projects, big ideas, like trying to design the future. This is something that I'm super passionate about and really into, but it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay a lot. It's very difficult to find work in it. I always have this dream of being like an architectural consultant for films, for games. So I've slowly spent the last couple of years trying to build up a portfolio, trying to understand the industry a bit better, and then sort of take out of that industry and bring it into architecture. So then I thought, well, what if I made architectural films for architects, help them sell their projects to clients and the public. One of my first videos that I made on Instagram recently was sort of about this subject. Probably rushed it quite a lot and tried to fit it into like a 90-second reel. But I feel much better, more confident talking about it this way. For example, one of the comments, and it's funny how the bad comments stick with me way more than the good comments, and trust me, there are more good comments than there are bad comments, but one of the bad comments I got was something like, the 90s called, they want their idea back. And I was like, right, okay, I get it, fair, right? I'm not making anything new, but the idea that architects who have been so dependent on images and CGI visualization now for so long to sell their products and to sell their projects wouldn't just sort of up it a step and start making CGI films and animations, especially when the software is now more accessible than ever with Unreal Engine 5. I just thought, wow, this could be a nice little niche market to break into. So quite quickly, I got quite a big client here in Sweden for the municipality of Gothenburg, and I prepared a short 2.5-minute film for them. You might be seeing some cuts from it now. And I thought, wow, this is a moneymaker. This is a good business idea. Let's do this. So I have been doing this freelance for some clients now over the last 12 months. But it's still not scratching that itch. So I thought it's sort of not enough for me long term when I am an architect and I think about space and how we make space and how we design and how we create images and how we use those images to design. I still want to do much more than just deliver MP4 files for clients. I still want to make architecture. I still want to design projects. I want to talk about projects. I want to talk about work. So this first company was sort of, we went from Studio Cahill Crumley, then we went to Archiframe, which is basically my nickname for these movies that I would make for clients. Archiframe, architectural keyframe animation. If you ask me, it's a good idea. If you ask me, it's a good name. So I went down the Archiframe route, and then I thought, but then no one knows who I am. And I think architects, especially in 2024, we're in the people business, not so much the construction business. And I thought I needed to have my name somewhere within the studio. So then I thought of just kind of going down to abbreviating the company, CCR, Cahill Crumley. You might be seeing some of those graphics on the screen now, CCR. And I have this little cool, pretentious logo design, which is kind of like this elemental, chemical element symbology, or symbol for like CC with the little lowercase r. This idea of creative alchemy, this architect who does so many different things. Because I think at the end of the day, that's my problem. Maybe it comes down to my attention span or lack of attention span. I like to do everything. I like to draw, I like to paint, I like to design. I like to design by drawing and painting. I like to make CGI images. I like to make films. I like to make animations. I like to do storyboard. I like to do concept art. I love to talk about all of these things, in case you haven't noticed. I like to prepare presentations. I like to talk to other people about their ideas. I just love making stuff, and I think that's the problem And the advantage that I have in my studio is that I just have this compulsion to make and produce and create things. And the difficulty with trying to transition, from artist to sort of small business owner is understanding that I have to be making work for others, not just work for me. Which sounds so obvious, but at the end of the day, I struggle to make work that isn't also somewhat for me. I suppose the studio is a little bit of like this kind of boutique, weird visualization, architectural, now video content sort of studio with multiple pillars, but with me at the top of it. I still keep an eye out for competitions. If I can't enter the competition or I can't afford to, then I will make a video series about the competition just to sort of be engaged with architecture. I try to draw physically. I still use a drawing board. I keep a sketchbook, but then I also use an iPad, and I'm a big fan of Procreate. I like 2D drawings, I like 3D drawings, I like still images, I like animations, I like films. Really, I just want my studio to be this giant kind of creative mixing pot of different things, working with different, preparing different collaborations, different kinds of output. I've worked on a couple of competitions recently where one of the submissions actually wasn't an architectural project so much as it was a graphic novel, comic book stylized presentation, this sort of piece of design fiction where we look at, big ideas and how the world might be in 30, 40 years in the context of the climate crisis rather than how things are currently. I also, I make films. I work on a lot of the projects here in the studio. I just try to build this like real constant kind of creative professional life. So having said that, I don't know if that clears anything up, but I do often have people ask me what I do and what I enjoy, and I think the answer is I just enjoy making stuff. I'm really passionate about that. I think that's the thing at the end of the day. I'm just like, I'm trying to, create this studio where I can be architecture as artist, artist as architect, make cool stuff. Like, I think that's what I'm passionate about. It's been slow. I think this kicked off properly at the beginning of 2023. We're now coming to the end of 2024. I have had multiple clients. I have been involved in a lot of projects. I have done quite a few competitions. Now I'm pivoting into video content, which is just going to be another pillar for the studio. So yeah, I don't know. This is just sort of an introduction, really. This is what I'm about. So yeah. Check out my Instagram, check out some of my YouTube videos. I think I'm just going to make more regular posts here. They're pretty laid back, they're quite chill. Let me know what you think, because I understand it's not very conventional. It's not, a traditional architecture office of sorts. It's more of like a kind of, it's more of a studio vibe. I think studio days were my favorite days. Working in studio at architecture school, I love this idea of maybe someday having my own studio where I could sort of bring that kind of creative culture back. Thanks for listening. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Hope you enjoyed. All the best and goodbye.